Yeah, there's a bowl that I made up. I took a lot of pieces of walnut and red oak, made squares, and glued them all together and clamped them before I turned them, so that it developed unique patterns as it would change shape, both the inside and the outside. But that's just multiple pieces of 3/4 inch square walnut and red oak, all glued together and then turned. Yeah, this is a little vase that's made out of Illinois cherry. It's a little bit unique because it's got captive rings on it, so that they were turned and then cut loose, so there, and then it's varnished with polyurethane varnish, bored out on the inside and marked on the bottom where it was made and the date it was done in February 2006. There's another bowl with a lid on it that was made up out of 3/4 inch square walnut and red oak, and it was turned so that you can get some interesting developments of grain patterns as it would change shape and come through. And it's a removable lid on it, so it was done so that we developed the interesting patterns as the bowl was changed.
And what kind of wood is that?
It's walnut and red oak. A lot of pieces to get glued together and get them all clamped up before the glue dries. There, this is another bowl that's made up out of pieces. It was mahogany and red oak, and it's a brick pattern. It follows around, it goes around with the same colored woods. And the bottom is all one solid thing, and the top is all one solid color. But that makes a brick affair, like as the individual pieces are glued together. It takes 8 of them to make a circle, and you just stagger the succeeding layers over a half a length of a piece. There's a little interesting woodworking project, a candlestick that's made up out of 3 pieces. You got a base, and you got the center column, and then you got the top. But the center column is made out of a solid piece, and this is carved out of there, sawed out and carved and rounded off so that it's 2 spiral pieces of wood going up there. That was a kind of a interesting wood carving thing to get this spiral thing in the center. The base and the top was just regular turning projects, all out of red oak. There's another piece that's made out of a cookie jar made up out of pieces of scrap wood, mostly red oak, and then I had pieces, a decorative thing with walnut and a hard maple to make it. There's just a bunch of bricks. It takes 8 pieces to make a circle, and then they're staggered so it works its way up. And the lid is made out of a solid piece of there with a little walnut knob that's put in the top of it. So that's the base was made with a solid piece, and then each piece layer was glued together and clamped, and then the succeeding ones till they finally build up to the whole height there, and then finish turning. There's another one, a cookie jar that's made up out of odd pieces. These are all strips of red oak. There were cuttings that were left over, and I made them up out of 12 sections to make the complete circle. That way they could be thinner material, and narrower, so they were easier to cut out. But there's 12 of them vertically set around there and glued to a thick base on the bottom, and the top is turned out of a solid piece of red oak, and it's got a red oak knob on the top of it. It's all finished with a couple of coats of polyurethane varnish. This was just a little experimental thing, just playing around with the lathe. It's a piece of basswood, a square that started out, and it's got captive rings on there. But the way it started out is put it in the center, then you get the bottom and the top, then you shift it off center and turn on this crank, and then you shift it off to another corner, you get the next one, then the other one to get there, and then clear over the other one to get the fourth one, so it makes it look like a crankshaft going around. It's just a little tricky turning project between the making them offset like that and also turning captive rings on it. Just a little exercise in wood turning.
And what kind of wood is it?
It's basswood.
And how long would you say it took to make that?
Oh, that probably, the turning of it probably only took an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But sanding and finishing it took more time than it did to turn it.
So is that the lathe behind that you made this stuff
Yeah,
on?
so all these turning was done on this lathe.
Why don't you go back by the lathe again
Yep.
there?
Yeah, I can take this chuck off of here, and then I put a spur center, and I can turn the long stuff. Or I put a faceplate on here instead of the chuck to turn the large bowls and stuff.
So how many years have you had this?
Well, I started this thing about probably 1998, 99 there. I started, and then I kept advancing on it and getting more and more as I developed more techniques for turning stuff. I did a lot of wood turning on green wood because that's kind of unique to pick out the logs in the area that you want to turn it out, so when the stuff dries and shrinks that it don't crack and so forth. But the turning green wood is much softer and easier than turning the cured wood, which would be much harder.
And where do you buy all this wood?
Well, some local trees are cut down. I cut down some of the trees myself, and then they cut down a big walnut tree out in the alley, and I got a couple of logs, and a neighbor cut down some trees there, and I got the logs from them.
This is Video Don. I've been showing you a little example of woodworking in Guy McLaughlin's workshop here in Dallas Center, Iowa. Hope you enjoyed it. Shows the various things that you can do with woodworking and the kind of skills you can have if you keep sticking to it and use your wood lathe.
Okay, again, here's a summary of just a few of the projects that have been done over the years and some of the more interesting bowls. The total number of projects is over 100, and we'll be showing some of those things. Any other comments from?
Oh, just fun, interesting projects to keep doing, and just developing new techniques for using the equipment and making use of the lathe that I made. So just